Hi, my name is Emma Matthews. I'm a psychosexual therapist and I'm going to talk to you today about performance anxiety in terms of how this impacts on people who have problems getting and keeping erections. Now, if you do have problems getting and keeping erections, it's worth going to your GP just to get checks first to make sure it's not physical problems actually causing the problems with erections. Now, quite often when a man is in a sexual situation or expectation, and by that I mean he's actually with a partner being intimate, or there may be some expectation for him to have sex and therefore perform in some way. Now, this can activate certain beliefs that people have about themselves and assumptions that they make about themselves and their sexual performance. And examples of those might be, I should be able to perform well sexually, or I must keep my partner sexually satisfied by penetrative intercourse. So in other words, if it doesn't involve penetration of some kind, then it's not proper sex. Or it may be that I'm not good enough either, for my partner, or not good enough as a man. Now, once these beliefs and assumptions have been activated, then people start to make negative predictions and get into a bit of a cycle of self-criticism. For example, it might be things like, I'll lose my erection, or it may be that my partner will tell people, so we bring in the element of maybe shame or embarrassment. Or it might be that, my partner will leave me, and then all the sort of catastrophic consequences that could follow that for them. So once we have these beliefs and assumptions that have been activated and we have these negative predictions and this self-criticism that starts, then what happens is we have this the physical symptoms of anxiety start, and the release of adrenaline in the body. Now, when adrenaline is released in the body, it's usually because of stuff that's actually going on in the brain. Basically, your threat system has been activated. So just to tell you just very briefly about the different parts of your brain, we have the reptilian brain, which is our oldest part of the brain, and this is where our threat system is. This part of the brain is involved with survival. So basically, survival involves getting food, getting away from predators. So millions of years go by and the brain develops a little bit more, and we have feelings and emotions that come along, and this is when mammals evolve onto the planet. Now, mammals need to have feelings and emotions because they give birth to their young. So they need to have that bonding to bring them up appropriately and care for them. And of course, as humans, we're mammals as well, but within our brain has developed even more as humans. And so we have other things, we can do other things that other mammals can't do. For example, language, having different ideas, etc. However, there is a slight drawback to our human brain, so it's almost like we have a built-in time machine in our brain, so we can go back in time and we go into a process of rumination, which is going over and over things that have happened in a negative way, or we can go forward in time, which is a future-based activity whereby we start to get anxious about stuff. That's where all those kind of what-if thoughts come in. But when we're talking about the physical things that actually happen when anxiety happens and adrenaline is released in the body, we're talking about your reptilian brain. Now, within your reptilian brain is the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is part of your threat system, absolutely essential. If we didn't have an amygdala, we'd probably all be dead because we'd be doing all sorts of silly things and getting into all sorts of trouble. Now, the amygdala has been designed to keep you safe, and it activates what we call our fight or our flight system. However, as humans, we now see threat in different things. We don't just see threat as in, something is actually going to attack us and kill us or hurt us in some way. We actually now as humans see threat in lots of different things. For example, people are going to make judgments about us. So as soon as that threat is activated, or we sense a threat because of all these beliefs that we have, then the amygdala goes off. It's like an alarm in your head. The amygdala goes off and it sends a message to your adrenal gland, which is where adrenaline is produced and released. So your adrenal gland, it releases the hormone adrenaline, which floods your body. And this is part of a system to actually keep you safe, to keep you alive. So typical things that happen when adrenaline hits at different parts of your body is you may get racing thoughts. And that's because you have to make a quick decision to evaluate what's going on and act very promptly. So it's as if your human, sensible, thinking brain gets hijacked by your threat brain. You may have changes to vision because the pupils change, so you can become very focused on the danger. Sometimes people experience a dry mouth and nausea and butterflies in their tummy. And that's because the blood is being diverted to the muscles that are going to keep you safe. So the muscles are going to allow you to either run away or fight the danger, which are your strong thigh muscles and the muscles here in your arms and shoulders. These need to be kind of pumped up if you're ready to fight. So more blood is diverted to those areas. Now, the reason you might get a dry mouth and nausea and butterflies in your tummy is you've only got so much blood in your body. And for blood to actually go to the areas where it's needed, it has to be diverted away from other areas where it's not required at that time. One of those is your digestive system. The heart beats faster for obvious reasons. It's trying to pump more blood to the areas that are going to keep you safe, that are going to help you to run away or fight. You may get cold hands or cold feet, and again, this is to do with the blood supply. The blood is diverted to the central muscles that are going to keep you safe, so it's not really necessary for blood to be going into sort of like hands and feet, which is sort of like at the ends of your body. Muscles become tense because they're pumped up, they're ready to go. You might notice sweaty palms, or it could be sweatiness anywhere. And that's because your body is basically trying to cool itself down. Your body still thinks that you're under threat, there's something going to attack you, it's going to harm you in some way. And it believes that, you might have to run away or you might have to fight. And if you have to do that, of course, you're going to overheat. When you use that kind of energy, you might overheat. So when you sweat, it's a way of cooling your body down. Sometimes people get bladder urgency because the muscles in the bladder relax at times of stress. And sometimes people notice that their breathing gets quicker and shallower because they're trying to take in more oxygen to get into the bloodstream to oxygenate those muscles that are going to keep them safe. But the thing is, if they take in too much oxygen, and they don't use it, so they're not actually going to be, running away from that big grizzly bear that's just jumped out of the bushes at them, then there may be an imbalance between the oxygen and carbon dioxide in their body, which makes people dizzy and lightheaded. So when all of these things are actually happening in your system, there is something else that might be affected. And of course, this would be actually losing erection, because the blood doesn't need to be in your penis when your body has sensed a threat, basically, which is why you lose the erection. So we have this biological response to the adrenaline being released into the body, and this is a feedback loop. So we get, so the more that you notice that actually the erection is starting to fade, the more adrenaline is released because you get more anxious about it. Now, because of this, because all this is going on, then people develop what we call safety behaviours. Now, a safety behaviour is a behaviour that people do develop to try and keep themselves safe, of course. Unfortunately, when people develop these behaviours, quite often it means that it keeps the problem going, it maintains the problem, because people don't learn that actually without these behaviours, the problem might not happen. So typical safety behaviours I've heard from people are avoiding sex altogether, or rushing to penetrate as soon as the erection's present, quite a common one. Using PD5 inhibitors, that there are Viagra type drugs, can be a safety behaviour. Or ensuring that their partners reach climax before penetration, or just focusing on their partner's pleasure. It almost kind of like gets them off the hook slightly. If the partner doesn't, feels happy and is sexually satisfied, they might not kind of notice them and, the fact that they're not able to get an erection. And of course, we have the partner's reaction, which is really important as well. So the partner might be disappointed, upset, anxious, critical. Now, this might be an obvious reaction. They might actually say, I'm really disappointed, you've lost your erection, is there something wrong with you? Or it might be more subtle or more kind of covert. It might be that they might just kind of roll over in bed and look a bit disappointed. Or it might be that the person that actually has the erectile problem actually just is overreading things, might be trying to mind read, and the partner may be absolutely fine, but the person that's got the problem may, as I said, be trying to kind of mind read and second guess what's going on in their mind, and they might be kind of second guessing that they're disappointed or they're upset, etc. Now, this circle in the middle indicates focus actually on the self. Now, focusing on yourself when you're being sexual is really important. It's kind of important to focus on those feelings of arousal, those feelings of pleasure. However, when people develop performance anxiety, they tend to focus more on the feelings of anxiety, and that's the physical feelings of anxiety and the anxious thoughts. And all of these things feed back into each other, so that partner's reaction feeds back into the activation of the beliefs and assumptions that people have. The biological response feeds back into the negative predictions and the self-criticism.